Welcome to our elected member briefing. So the first item is the forward agenda. So there was a discussion about putting a briefing on in relation to
Inactive land.
the policy, inactive land. Or surplus land that we're not investing in.
Could I just ask one question regarding the forward agenda? The share implements seems to be like a really drawn out lengthy process. I'm just wondering why that's actually taking so long.
Priorities. So they're in situ and there's no issues with them being in situ, given the land that they're on, but it's not a long-term solution.
Right.
So there's no one knocking on our door saying, can you get rid of them? Or we would have to prioritise that. So that's really.
And they're not they're not deteriorating because they're sitting on soil.
They've deteriorated because they've been outside for many years. And so when this first was raised, we engaged with the community through the volunteers we had at DOC and other volunteer organisations and whether there was interest and for Bagshore, and it was all too hard or they weren't required, wasn't able to be undertaken. So realistically, we've got to move them somewhere where they won't benefit the community.
Is the museum on Long Gully Road still active?
No, that's where they were.
Right.
That's my opinion against them.
No, just, if community wanted them, came and put their hand up, but that's a list of priorities. It's, not something that's unfortunately on our priorities.
And it's expensive to move them as well because of their fragility and what they're like.
Have any other options?
Well, just last year, we actually had an implement donated from a local family to commemorate the centenary of the Mannum Hall. And I'm wondering if maybe any other halls that were looking at having any sort of celebration like that, would they have an option to approach council to?
When we went through this process, it was probably 2 years ago now, I can't remember. We put it out to all the community groups and whether there was any interest. And Port Bagshore did express some interest, but then it came back in the end, it was too hard. So, we definitely explored all of those opportunities. Interesting. All right, if there's nothing else, we'll
Yeah, we're talking about that. Something like,
You don't.
that was,
Carol.
What else, Carol? What are we talking about?
Oh, yes,
The CFS.
to discuss the CFS, yeah, please.
And other places.
Hi, Carol.
Did you get your email Ben earlier in the week about something else? We'll bring it up next.
Buildings.
We'll go on Clive TV services, Mannum and Swan.
Keeping with the express of the council meeting, I'll put all three into one side. So, yeah. So first of all, TV services for Mannum and Swan Reach. Around the period of 2012, there was obviously the movement of analog to digital services as far as TV is concerned. Also in the Mid-Murray Council District, there was an analog tower at Truro that was basically wasn't converted to digital by the state government. And my understanding was the reason was due to a Barossa repeater being able to reach that point. So that was decommissioned or not upgraded. On the 27th of June 2012, the Mid-Murray Council signed 2 deeds, which are effective to 2025, which is, you know, only 455 years. In relation to taking certain responsibility for the 2 TV antenna repeaters at Mannum, and one at Mannum is near Kawira. And obviously it's situated there to give coverage to repeat the signal because of the shadow of the cliff in the valley of the Mid-Murray. And the other one was Swan Reach, or known as South Kangaroo. And obviously those 2 antennas give digital services along the riverside. So in those agreements, the costs to council was electricity cost. We're not responsible for the supply if there's any issues getting electricity there. Where council signed up for the responsibility of the air conditioning equipment, so we go and maintain it. I think one of them was just replaced not so long ago. And we're also responsible for the tower repairs and replacements of those towers as well. So so they're both quite substantial. This the one at Kawira, understand it's got a whole lot of guide wires, going down. So it's one of those which is a zigzag structure, pipes. The condition of those are basically there hasn't been any engineering reports done on those. I need to go through the to see whose responsibility of that, whether we get prompted that needs some repairs or that's our responsibility. So obviously there must have been some threat that those 2 towers were also going to be decommissioned at that stage. And council negotiated that by signing that deed that the repeaters would stay in situations in situ and remain operational and being upgraded from that along to digital services. And I'll be following up with a report to council in due time. So if there's any other questions, the deeds were sent to all the members. And I've just quickly read through what's 3/4 of an hour, just to do that real summary, basic summary. So the equipment which is inside the huts, which are at the base of each antenna, they're not our responsibility. The costs of those are covered by I imagine the federal government or one of the federal and or state government, and that's done by a contractor. So they have access to those huts, and they can request from us, if there's some issue with the tower, that we upgrade the tower for any specific reason. Then the other thing, I think we're responsibility for just basically maintaining the vegetation. So basically your access there. So that's my summary of the 2 leases. And I suppose the biggest threat is that potentially council could be up for the repairs or the replacement of those towers.
Have we got no idea of the lifespan?
No,
Looking forward?
you'd have to get an engineer's assessment on that.
I'm just wondering how long you really need to keep doing it, considering we're living in a world of streaming. Everything's
I'll tell
being
you,
streamed
When
these
the
days.
Mannum one goes
Oh,
out,
yeah.
the Mannum Community News and Views lights are, or even when the power goes out on that side of the river, I'm not here, I can't tell you, like, lots of
Yeah.
people, and same as Swan Reach, when we had to stop it for the flood. That was probably our biggest complaint, it's not about roads or anything, it was about the TV.
Oh,
Yeah, we were getting calls, well, can't council get a generator there to
Yeah.
power it up, I've got to talk to my spouse at night and things like that.
We get it.
I think it'd be really good to sort of know what sort of dollar figure we're looking at as to what it's sort of costing us, and then
potentially.
Well, a lot like that would be hard, you know, I'd
Yeah,
actually have
yeah.
to pay an engineer to do that.
Yeah,
He would just
yeah.
wait.
This is
So you
really-
can tell us what it's costing us now without. the
Yeah,
replacement.
without the
Costing us now.
I'd be able to obtain like an average like quotation of what something like that would be valued at, but you're not only looking at the cost of replacement, you're looking at decommissioning a tower as well.
I'm more looking at the costs of the electricity and the air conditioning and the running
Yeah.
costs, that sort of thing as to
What's
what
it
is.
costing us?
And why, like, I mean, Bow Hill, they pay for theirs,
Yes.
whereas Swan Beach and Mannum don't pay for them, and, you know, not that
I think it's
anybody wants
different.
to.
Right, you've got to
everybody-
plug into it.
Yeah.
Whereas here, we don't know who's using it.
Yeah,
That's-
yeah,
that's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
And then
Well, that's the thing, and we don't, you know, we don't do it for the rest of our community. So.
I was gonna
just, you know,
say, the only way you can get Adelaide TV at Young Husband is to stream it. We will have to go satellite, which is regional TV. So we get lots of ads from Mount Isa and our streaming.
Yeah, well, I use that all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've got
it's
sick
no
of the
different.
copies destroying my aerial. So I just say, but
Yeah, so the ability to try and recover some costs would be very hard because we'd have, you could have this area, but obviously physical barriers such as cliffs and the curves of the river, one neighbour would get it and the next neighbour possibly wouldn't be able to get it because of, the movement of the cliff and, not line of sight basically, so.
And half of Mannum uses that off the
Yeah.
other half, yes.
in the-
So this-
Sorry.
Sorry, this deed expires this year, so we,
So it runs for 400 years, but it actually is renewed annually. So by default, it just keeps rolling over.
so that, what's prompted this to come to council?
Our sustainability reports.
Okay,
So we don't know the cost of electricity, like what it's costing us at that.
I can put that in the report. Yeah.
Okay,
A lot of councils do this.
yeah.
Um,
Good question.
After talking to UHY, which does a lot of work with councils, when we had them engaged for the Mannum Waters evaporation. She had a bit of, I'm not sure how it came about. She said, "Oh, your council's still involved with this. All the other councils wiped their hands of this when it went digital." And basically said, "Oh, well, we're not involved anymore. Digital is a whole new world." So, yeah.
And so basically that decision would have been made about Truro,
And
but not
look,
to.
No, I think in
No,
this
or-
case,
or-
the government
Oh.
were putting in the money to upgrade it, so we
okay, so we
didn't buy
don't
the
do
towers or anything, we've just
Okay.
been adding it. Whereas
Okay.
Truro doesn't have one, so you'd have to set up that whole thing.
Okay.
They weren't funded for it.
so Truro was covered by another tower, so which might have been upgraded or, something you put in. And for whatever reason, and we'll go and find the original report, and hopefully there's the original report, it looked like there was a threat to just not upgrade these two. And then council said, "Oh, no, had a bit of a discussion with the government and said, why can't you, whatever, and it came to this agreement, obviously, to sign a deed where it would pay every part shared as far as expenses going forward.
But in Truro, the power from the Barossa didn't work anyway,
Okay.
because 3/4 of the town, the federal government paid them all the glass boxes.
Yeah.
So, and to this day, they still whinge about TV.
So they should have done that here as Mannum.
Yeah, but I think there was too many people for the government to want to do that, that's why I don't think they went, we're not funding Truro, we're gonna do this instead, but over in Mannum, we're happy to fund this, and obviously council went, yeah, okay, we'll pay for electricity.
So I'll grab the original report, what went to council, which has got the back end of that, and that'll come as a sustainable report to council in due course. So we had a discussion about that. Update of house numbering at Cambrai and Sedan. So Cambrai is scheduled to occur by the end of October. I previously told council several months ago that it was scheduled to be done in August or
End of
September.
Mhm.
Yeah, I scheduled. Unfortunately, I've got other issues with resourcing. Council wants everyone to reduce their long service leave and annual leave, so we're just juggling with those type of issues. And that I've had extended leave for 2 officers, and what I really need to do is get the rates officer offline, so she doesn't answer phone calls, but I need someone to cover that. So we're now in the situation we can schedule that to occur. So for Cambrai, house numbers have been allocated and permission has been granted from the state government. So that's one of the requirements. We've got to do that. Talked about the delay. Outstanding steps are to yet to update the property details on our corporate system. And then that will also, when we'll push out our rate notices and installment notice, people will be able to actually see their house number on their rate notice as well. As far as like the property description is concerned, because obviously they don't get mail delivered to their houses there. And then we need to write to the property owners advising of their allocated house numbers, and that emergency services will be referencing those house numbers. So they're the last 2 steps that we've got to do, and we want to do that by the end of October.
So they'll all get RPAs? The real property address?
No,
No,
house
that's
numbers.
because it's township, not rural.
House number.
Okay.
So
No one's gonna get a little sign, or that is in the town.
Yeah,
So-
in the
so
town.
In the town.
so the rules are if it's a township.
Yeah.
You have house numbers.
Yeah.
If you're not within the township, you get rural road address.
Yeah.
But interesting that Sedan has got one street which has got rural road addresses.
Yeah, yeah, because it's an extension of the stop highway probably.
No,
No?
no, yeah, I'm not sure of it, but by the general rules, that shouldn't have occurred.
Yeah,
But it has occurred, so in Sedan where that's occurred, we're not going to give them house numbers.
oh dear. That's not gonna make people very happy.
No, sorry, we'll have to
Just
look
clarify
for
that.
that one road,
For that road.
for that one
Road
road.
that's already
They've already
got
got numbers.
They've got
They've got,
rural
they've
road
got
address.
rural, yeah, but there's been still complaints that it's just difficult it doesn't gel with
Yeah, what that's.
anyone.
Like
Doesn't-
rural
as
road
in-
addresses are just like house numbers. You keep going up one street and they
Yeah,
keep increasing.
distance.
There's
Some-
odds and evens. I'm not sure how people get confused because there's little white
Yeah, you get a little sign.
numbers there.
Yeah, but the tradies and that, they just can't seem to find the right house, but maybe it's just a tradie problem.
So the rest of Sedan will get the house numbers, but
Yeah.
that street that's already got the rural will stay the way they are.
So me at Nong, I've got a rural road address.
Mm.
I must admit, in Google, I put and they say, yeah.
Not on this year.
And if they put in Nong, they get thrown, they go like so many Ks out east of it because the old Penang area is that way.
So when you finished Canberra, you're going to complete Sedan?
Yep, Sedan will be, yeah, so we haven't allocated numbers, so we need to go through those steps, allocate numbers, give the numbers to the deputy, and turnaround's normally okay, normally within a couple of weeks we can get that, and then we'll do the other 2 steps, update property details in the corporate system and notify the property owners. I've got a note there just on the bottom that it is a practice for some councils if they're renumbering to compensate the owners of the properties for the issues or troubles they might have to do renumbering, but because we're not really renumbering, I don't see that's an issue. But some people may say, but I've always been known as, lot number 5, and I will still want to be number 5 because everyone knows I'm number 5 or something like that. So there will be some pushback. I imagine there will be.
I don't know, I
Reduce
think you'll
weekends.
be pretty safe somehow.
Okay.
Let's clarify, Clive, we'll do the administration stuff by the end of the month. That's the plan. So we're resourcing our rates officer to able to do the work, other staff. And so then we'll communicate out. Now, they may not get the communication by the end of the month, given Australia Post, but that's the process. So we'll finish the administration component of what we need to do for Cambrai by the end of the month. That's the plan. Clive.
Yeah. And do a mail to to then notify you.
And Clive, their next rate's notice would have already been at the previous month, so it won't be on the next.
Next rate
Yes.
notice, yeah, it will be out by the next week. And I'll put another insert in, the rate notices for the extension of the, deferral for producers. Yeah. They'll be the only ones to get that inserted.
Can I just ask a question? This email that was sent to Linda Schmidt and CC to me, that was on the 25th of September. It says the project to implement house numbering for Canberra is progressing as internal resources allow. Noting that this project is not a priority project within the strategic plan 24 to 28 and is being completed using existing resources time allows. When the other house numbers were done in other townships, were they actually on the strategic plan or what? I don't know.
I wasn't here then. Yeah, what like now so basically, if it's we've been very tight with our expenditure. So basically, we haven't got anything in the budget, and I can't justify it by saying that's in the strategic plan. So that was basically the meaning of that. So I'm not going to spend any money on it.
So it really means it didn't have to be mentioned in the strategic plan to get done. Because I mean, that's the impression it gives.
If it's in the strategic plan, then it would be a priority for us to do because we actually planned it each year that these are our goals. So we didn't have in the strategic plan that we would number a number of townships throughout 2024 to 2025. Yeah.
Oh, well, I suppose it's a lesson that I've learned that to make sure you push for it to be in the budget instead of assume it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So we do a number of projects business as usual, and they get progressed within resources. If they're identified specifically, which I'm about to give an update, then they will get progressed as a priority. So it wasn't to say it wasn't going to happen, it's just Clive didn't allocate additional resources to it because it wasn't in the budget. And so that's what has been done within existing resources.
I'm sure council wouldn't like me to get an outside contractor to do that work. So
No, I'm not saying it's not budgeted for you, I understand that.
Yeah.
The other sort of part, I think, it's sort of seeing the information that was sort of presented to us is like the updates on the mapping sort of systems and the Google Maps and all that sort of stuff. I mean, that's not our responsibility to do, but will that filter through? Does that filter through from Dick?
Yeah.
But it probably doesn't allow for all the little aberrant mapping sort of surveys that need to be updated. So some search engines won't find those numbers because they haven't been updated. I think the emergency services aspect of it is the priority.
Yeah, so I imagine, because we've got to notify the D that then they have a process of notifying the lands department, various different services, and then, that it flows through to, getting the cadastral or like the mapping which shows all the allotments to have that tag put onto them as well. Yeah.
We've recently found out that we have, depending on the government agency, we have 2, maybe 3 different addresses for our property.
Aren't you lucky? Three lots of votes?
No.
Just why not? Just triple the size.
So at Penong, I had the wrong road address on my property. Yeah.
Good work, Clive.
Thank you.
Sedan and Cambrai, we thank you when this work is done. They're looking forward to it.
Yes. Okay, next one is just basically an update of or financial briefing on the full cost attribution. So council's policy, which was adopted on 17th June 2025, and basically ensures that all our financial statements were prepared, maintained in accordance with South accounting standards and any legislative requirements. In particular, there's a standard 116. Which is accounting treatment of proper plant equipment, and also local government acts requires us if we prepare any statements or any external reports, that they should include full cost attribution. So what happened was a number of drivers were selected to distribute the costs. So what we have is we have like administrative costs, and then we actually have some, and I like to call them internal support services, which are supporting other departments, and then we've got others, other external services. So the idea is those internal support services like payroll, HR, financial services, exec services, are actually distributed out to get a full cost. Just like if you had a factory, you had your admin area, and you had your payroll and your admin, and you'd want, if you're making whatever you're making, selling, a portion of those costs should be built into the product or the service you're selling. Same type of principle. So I think there's 5. So by a percentage of total transactions, we share the cost from corporate services, financial services, audit and procurement. Based on percentage of total employees, we spread the cost of human resources payroll. So if there's 5% of employees in a certain function, I don't know, tourism, they wouldn't have 5%, but if they did, we would actually put 5% of our human resources payroll costs be distributed to that sub-function. Same with health and safety and risk management, because normally, you know, if you've got an employee, you've got health and safety and risk management, so it's proportional. For a percentage of total entries on the rate notice, for rate review collection, it's per the number of transactions per service fee or general rates. So the number of those entries on our rate notice, and basically if you've got an entry on the rate notice, it's probably proportional that to maintain that would probably be consistent throughout the year as well. And then so per service fee, that's easy because then it kind of goes back to like garbage collection, it goes to landscape levy, it goes to Bow Hill water and TV services. And then you've got a number of transactions which relate to general rates, and then what they're distributing on is by the percentage of total operating subsidy. So if we subsidise, once again, a certain service, and the difference between income expense is, you know, there's like a deficit, they run a deficit, so they get financed, they really get financed by general rates in the majority. So if a certain sub-function represents, you know, 7% of the total overall deficit for servicing all of those, they'll get 7% of what it costs us to maintain our general rates. So then we've got another couple customer requests. So we use that by looking at what customer requests have been lodged, and basically the percentage is distributed back out to the various different sub-functions. So, you know, if unsealed roads is 10% of our customer service requests get lodged, they'll get 10% of customer service costs. Percentage of IT devices. So you basically have kind of got 3 different devices. We've got mobile phones, we've got laptops, and we've got wise terminals or dumb terminals. So dumb terminals, mobile phones probably are the less maintained. Next would be dumb terminals, and then laptops are the most highly maintained or most expensive per item. So we weight those, and then we spread those out. The costs of the IT services, record management, and oh, no, sorry, that's not right. So information percentage of inside employees to those devices, and records management is based on number of records which have been recorded, and occupancy is based on inside staff, the number of inside staff in our admin areas. So overall, once again, if it's a good thing, we have we've got one person who's the health officer. That represents, probably 1.7% of our total employees, inside employees. Our health services will get 1.7% of our total occupancy expenses. So what does that really mean? So we set our budget on the same type of drivers, and in 2024-25, here's the sub functions that we say that we like for our internal support services, and that costs us about $4.3 million. So these are the amounts of money that we need to recover from all those other sub functions. And basically we've gone through those previously about the drivers, and then where does it rubber hit the road as far as external services. And mind you, there's 5 slides where it gets distributed, and these were the actual amounts which were distributed in 2024-25. So elected members, based on those different drivers, because you've got laptops as well, etc. You take a certain amount of resources. We actually charge back about $107,000. And
We object. We were the cheapest group of elected.
there you go. Not too bad at all. And look, and I'll just go through these others. Some of the larger ones you can see, the Murray Heritage and Maritime Committee. That's the operations part of it. Public conveniences, $124,000. General planning assessment, it's quite high. Waste gets about $80,000, and obviously these costs I have incorporated into our recovery for those external services like bin collection or recycling as well. So sealed roads and unsealed roads, quite a lot of money going in those areas, being attributed through all those other different drivers. CMWS, I suppose, and CMWS, which is unemployed work applied for 2024-25, and what we agreed through the public consultation that we would put 20% each year on for the next 5 years, so that'll get ramped up. So in 2025-26, they'll probably get 20% of 270,000.
So at the moment then, the swims will be applied 54,000, is that right?
No, so in 2024-25, as far as full cost attribution, there was nothing. In 25-26, you've just got to remember good figures, but that wasn't. There was a number of costs that we gave. Sorry, that would have been about right. It was $50,000, and then I think I incremented them by an additional full-time employee, and the additional equipment for cleaning out and now maintaining all our pipes, because we hadn't been doing that. Now we can actually clean our pipes out, and hopefully that'll increase the flow rate of a lot of the gravity ones as well.
So did the general ratepayer in 24-25 pay any of that?
Did we?
Swims cost?
Did CMWS?
Yeah.
Did we recover for any of those costs from CMWS in 24-25? No.
But from now on.
20%.
20%.
20% will be recovered in 25-26.
We're paying SA Water an extra fee, yet the garbage collection, we've upped the, like, it just does not seem fair.
Well, that was a decision of council in the end.
Phase it in.
I assumed that phase it in just meant it went on the fees, but we were still charging it to the swim accounts.
Oh, so those costs, to
So-
clarify, the costs on the additional staff member and the truck, they were done 100%.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 2000. Yeah. And for CMWS, so I will still, I'm still costing. In 2024-25, I did cost 270,000 to CWS, but not
Put up in the fees.
not calculated in the recovery of the fees.
Yes.
Alright.
they will be on
So
a
the cost-
ramping
cost
up
of-
from this point onwards,
Yeah.
yeah. And 20% was in 25, 26
Yeah.
recovered. Okay, that's it.
Huge job, yes.
I was gonna say, I'm glad that you and your, I'm not taking away anything from any other departments, but I'm glad that you and your department have good people to work this out, because I was struggling just to follow what you're saying.
Yeah, it's, if you employed, 3 people and you had 1 person in the office, and let's say the 3 people, I don't know, install roller doors. That, and you said, oh, well, I'm recovering the roller door cost, and the equipment and their vehicle and the person's wage. If you didn't recover the person in the office, you would soon be running at a loss.
Yeah.
So you would be kind of saying, oh, well, roughly 1/3 that person cost needs to go there. Very simplistic way, but it's, to explain it, but it's just more complex. So the hardest part of it going forward now is just reviewing those drivers to ensure they're up to date. And some of those, they're quite, so I extracted all the service requests. I pulled out all the transaction and analysed them by sub-function. So to get all the percentages right. So, like I did have the spin matrix and it had the percentage in dollars, but it was just overwhelming. But the end result were those journals. Yeah.
And
Thank you. There you go.
I just want to acknowledge the work that Clive did, because it wasn't a team. Clive did this, and everything else is going on. So it's a massive piece of work
Yeah.
that you wanted to get to for a few years, and finally to be implemented. It's
So some councils look at it very simplistically and say, oh, well, we'll just base it on the total amount of operational expenses against each function. And it's kind of like, oh, well, roads is operational expenses are, like 30%. We'll just put 30% of the full contribution. Because we're recovering it from CWS and garbage and TV, like both TV and water, I've gone to probably good streams, but they're quite defendable,
That leads to my question. First of all, totally grateful that this has been done, because as you know, I've wanted this done for a long time. With all of those recoveries that we're able to get now through swims and garbage collection, has that been factored into the rates revenue that we receive? Like the easy example is when I first started here at council, no one was paying for garbage collections. And then council went, hang on, only 80% of people are getting garbage collection. So rates say were $1,000. The next day they were 900, and then we added the $110 garbage collection to the people. So we still collected the whole same amount. I haven't quite seen that change. Like I said, we put up the garbage based on that full cost attribution, but did we take the rates down by that same amount or for that swims amount? Well, I think that needs to be factored in. Holistically, if we're able to recover some, it has to come out if you're then adding an extra charge, whereas I haven't seen that. And I guess the other thing, and I know we can't do it because of financials, but the grant that we received, the FA grant, has a factor in it for garbage collection. So we're receiving revenue because of the big area, but only the people paying for garbage are still paying the same. I think we should be attributing some of that. Like I said, I don't think we can do it because that's no grant. But we should factor some of that in when we're charging that same fee out, because we are getting a payment because of the distance we.
So I approached the Grants Commission and Crickets.
Yeah.
So they won't supply me the information.
The
So I
information-
can't.
The information is easily attainable because they gave it to us. They gave us, that's how I found it. They gave us a spreadsheet when they came about. You just have to factor in that we're only receiving 36% of the grant that they've said. So if they've said 100,000 for garbage, you'd only be able to attribute 36,000 because it might be less each year as it has been going down. But the information's there.
It's there, but it won't fit in the framework when we submit our Grants Commission. If I did that, it wouldn't allow me to submit the
That's what I mean,
spreadsheet.
accounting wise, we can't shift the grant, but we should factor it in when we go, oh, should we be charging $110 for garbage or 105 and just let the rest just go into general rates type thing? Because we are receiving that money for that purpose and we're not passing it on to the people that are receiving the money.
with it, yeah, and it's, yeah, so it's supposed to be subsidising the services cost because you're disadvantaged because of distances or remoteness, etc. So
People using the service are not getting subsidised when they should be. That's my thought pattern.
yeah, and I agree, but I can't account for it and then put the return. It'd have to be account for it off ledger somehow.
Yeah,
Now you'd have to do this calculation.
think about it.
Mm.
This is when we're watching tennis.
Any other questions? So massive piece of work.
Yeah.
And yeah, it will benefit obviously those buildings that are, or the generators, we're allocating costs to where they get utilised. All right, is it me?
Yes.
I'll bring up mine. Yeah. Thank you. So I just wanted to provide an update on the implementation of our 24-28 strategic plan. Over, as you know, we adopted a new plan at the start of the financial year, moving into 24-25. So Carol, first slide. Just gives you a reminder of what our purpose is. We were going to work collaboratively to strengthen and enrich our community. We've got our ambition is to be sustainable, livable and prosperous across the whole region. And we've got three themes or pillars being sustainability, livability, prosperity, and underpinned by people. And that is from the staff perspective on who's delivering and the elected members. So we identified at the start of 24-25, and for those of you are not aware, sorry, put your hand up, you'll move the same. That we have an annual business plan each year, and that is how we communicate out to the community on what our priorities are and what we're going to do, and then how we're going to fund that across those 12 months. So we put the priorities in that document, our annual business plan and budget. And then in the annual report, which will come to the November council meeting, we report on what happened across those 12 months, including how we achieved or didn't achieve our objectives. So I've just got a number of tables to go through which highlight what our key activities were for the year and whether they've been completed or ongoing. I'll start from, I'll set the frame for this. Is a number of things, for example, refining council strategic financial plans. Like you could say that has been completed for that year, but it's something you're always refining. So even though that should or could be a green, in this example, I've said it's ongoing because it happens each year and then we progress it. So there's some that will be either in progress or ongoing that we achieve the objectives for those 12 months, but still more things to do across the 4 years of the plan. So first one was to progress the priorities that we've identified. So I've said that is completed because we have progressed, and I'll give you a report on that. Not all of them have been completed because not all of them are designed to be completed in 12 months, but there's pieces of work that need to be undertaken. So from a refining council strategic financial plan, so we updated our annual business plan and budget as we had to. We updated our long-term financial plan, and as you just saw from Clive's presentation, probably the most significant piece of work across the last 12 months was the full cost attribution. And when I talk 12 months, I am referring to the last financial year, even though it's now October, but there's been things obviously progressed into this financial year. So a massive piece of work. So we have completed those objectives for that year, and then we'll continue to refine our financial plans. The MRLGA transport strategy, thank you, easy for you to say, has been updated, and we provided our contributions to that and our priority roads. The next one, implement stage 1 outcomes as a sustainability review and commence stage 2. So we've done the stage one, we have commenced stage 2. A number of those we wanted to complete by the end of the last financial year, but as you know, have gone into this, but we have commenced them. So I have said we've completed the objective, but those stage 2 ones haven't been implemented. So we're doing our land and buildings and we're doing the maritime asset ones. So they're still progressing. The annual management plan, I'm struggling today, it must be the weather. Animal management plan has been updated and endorsed by council and gone to the board, dog and cat board. I think it's changed name. I think it's now the dog and cat management plan. But that's what was in the annual business plan, so I've kept the terminology. But that has been completed. Please stop me if there's any questions as I walk through this. So next one, these obviously the sustainability key activities, investigate funding opportunities for the installation of Swan Reach swims. As you know, we secured the funding from the LGA and that's progressed to detailed design. Once detailed design has happened, we'll go through that process, but we've a massive project that's progressing and really excited for Swan Reach. The development and implementation of the community engagement framework. So we updated our public consultation policy in 2024. The state government is going through a new engagement charter, Gary, and we hope that I think it's out for consultation.
It's been out for consultation. We're now just waiting on the final decision on the charter.
And so once that is updated, then we'll consider our policy and framework. As you know, we've done some significant work on our community engagement. Gary has driven that around our Your Say and updated website. We all, for every consultation, we now have an engagement plan or a communication plan, depending on the level of that. So there's been a fair bit of work undertaken across the 12 months from the community team in that space. Boundary reform hasn't been a priority over the 12 months of the financial year. So I've just said that is ongoing. There's been some conversations. Truro have progressed something on their own to see whether they potentially move to the Barossa. We provided data for that, but the Commission hasn't considered that, whether they endorse that to the next stage. So I've said that's ongoing. Council's risk framework was reviewed and updated across the 12 months. The last one was advocacy for greater equity in financial assistance grants. I think it's fair to say that we've completed this because the advocacy has been very, very strong from Mayor Bailey and Council. We obviously haven't achieved our end outcome. So I've said it's ongoing, and it is an objective when I talk about this financial years that it is ongoing. It's not something that we're going to stop. And we'll keep fighting the good fight and hopefully get some traction on that. So we've definitely progressed that. So that could have some green, most definitely. Next slide, please, Carol. So the last two, from a sustainability, develop climate adaptation and mitigation plan policy. There's only been minor progress in this from a staffing perspective. It is an objective for the next 12 months, and we've been engaging with some workshops with some other councils on this. So it is in progress, but limited progression from a priority perspective. Review and updated emergency response plan. So we've progressed this, but the LGA is reviewing their templated documents. So we've had to stop and pause that until the new templates are, which I think we've received now. So it's an objective for these 12 months. Any questions on any of the sustainability key activities? No, if we progress to livability. So district action plans, as you are aware, we endorsed a community development strategy in November 24, and we've changed the title of the district action plans to community action plans. From a staffing perspective, you know that we put a pause and we phased what we're going to do with that. We've now got a full complement of staff, and this new staff member will be progressing that. Is there anything you want to add on that, Gary?
Yeah, so basically now through the process of having attended the Small Town Reinvention Conference, we'll be really sort of using that as the sort of real driver for developing the new community action plans. So the JP in the audience here, one of our champions, it's just a good opportunity for us to utilise the community to drive what is important for them.
Thank you. So waste services review findings. As you're aware, we've implemented the transfer station, reduced hours and schedule, and we're going to review that, I think, in February from memory or before the end of the financial year. Dave's not here to correct me on that. So there's a number of things out of that waste services review that have been implemented. The curbside review is being progressed, and we're having the conversations with the contractors around recycling and green waste rollout. So those things continue. The Cambrai landfill, we've progressed the cell 2 development on that, which the construction is hopefully nearly completed. We saw it, didn't we, when we were out there? So it's well and truly been progressed. And then once that's completed, we can have the conversations with other councils, which we've already started with the contractor, about potentially additional waste coming back from a revenue stream perspective. So there's been progress in that.
Can I just mention, Ben, those tours that they do of the waste facilities? I think it's, I can't remember which organisation it is that's organising them,
LGA, or LGA.
but also KeySat
Yeah.
were involved. Anyway, my point was really that I think I did the report after I'd been and said that I really recommend it to all elected members. It's just quite eye-opening to see how the whole system is managed and solos included in it all. It was a really brilliant day to really understand how it all works. I'd recommend it to the rest of you.
So review of infrastructure asset management plans. So we've undertaken across 24-25 river vessels, river structures, and the swims. They've been completed. We've commenced stormwater. We finalised buildings, land, and facilities as well. We've commenced the stormwater, and the road management plan will commence in 2025-26. So we've done 3 or 4 of those asset management plans. As you know, they come to council. Service standard review. So stage 1 or phase 1 has been adopted by council. So the community development and community services section was out of the financial year. I think it was in August, was it? Or was it
July.
July. It was July 1. So that one has been completed. And phase 2, which is the infrastructure and field services, will be presenting to you at the November briefing, and then hopefully adopted in December. And then phase 3, which is the broader organisations one we haven't done, will be progressed in the new financial year. So phase 1 has been adopted in that. A lot of livability, sorry. So next one is the regional public health plan. We probably had this as an objective for last year, even though the state plan wasn't up for review, Gary. And so that has now been completed.
So it's out for consultation at the moment, the new state plan.
Yeah, so the state plan is out for consultation. So the review of the regional plan will follow on that. So that has been moved into 25-26. Community development strategy, as I mentioned, was adopted in August 2024.
November 24.
November 2024. And so we've implemented some of those strategies, and we've just talked about the community action plan. So that's been completed. The disability access and inclusion plan, again, the state plan has been finalised, and I think it's going to be done, if not.
It's been adopted.
It's been adopted.
So we now have until February next year to review and update our plan.
Yeah, so again, we put that in as an objective for the last financial year, but until the plan was completed from a state perspective, we could progress. But we've undertaken the internal review of the current plan, and then we've started work on the new plan. So the last 2 they're ongoing, but I've put completed as well, because we do things and we continue to support the delivery of the community wellbeing programs and associations. For example, like our community grants. It's a program we run each year. We've had a lot of engagement with the community development funds from the renewable energies. And that's obviously benefiting local communities in that regard as well. And so there's a number of different things that we do each year to progress those. Next one is the community organisations. Oh, sorry, I've got them around the wrong way. First one, community wellbeing was around preventative health partnerships that we've done with the MRLJ. We've got a staff member that's been employed as part of that partnership with preventative health. And we then have done the community grants and the community development fund in the second one. Sorry, I got them around the wrong way. Gary, is there anything else I've missed there? I suppose it's just that point that we do a lot in those spaces with our community. Next one, please, Carol. So reconciliation action plan in progress, but probably stagnated, whilst we went through that resourcing and community development strategy discussion. We do our NAIDOC each year. We continue to engage with our First Peoples. We've had some relationship challenges in that space. Probably something that's really quite exciting that we're going to progress is through our regional partnership or the tourism. What's the actual project name, Gary?
Tourism Precinct Planning Project.
Yep, we're going to do the Indigenous cultural mapping, which is a really important part of that project. So, and that was also an objective out of our reconciliation plan. Volunteer management plan. So the code of conduct has been reviewed and updated and distributed, and we got some really good feedback from the volunteers on that. And the volunteer management plan is scheduled to be progressed across this financial year. We completed the audit of our community sporting facilities throughout the region, and then that data was incorporated into our asset management plan for buildings and facilities. We have undertaken a targeted Corella program. One of the challenges, and it talks about statewide response, and there've been some conversations, and Gary through his network has progressed that, but it needs to be a statewide approach because we did something in Swan Reach, and that was, they moved them to another.
Cambrai.
Do they move to Cambrai? There you go. So and if someone upriver does something, then it moves them down to Swan Reach, and then they go to Cambrai. So even though we do have a program, it's probably somewhat ineffective. Gary, is that fair to say?
Yes, I would say.
Not probably, it is
Yeah.
ineffective, but there's not a lot of traction. Do you want to comment on the state law perspective?
We'll continue to advocate and work with you to achieve a statewide response. There's been various, conversations and meetings. We try to attend offices. So yeah, we'll just continue to advocate for it.
Thank you. Murray Coorong Trail, as you know, we've put a pause on the broader project, but we completed the Belvedere Road project out here, which has had some positive feedbacks, also had some negative, but that's what happens. But I think it was a positive, but we haven't and aren't going to progress because council's guidance on that, even though we've got a detailed design. But if funding does present, we will consider that. Any questions on the sustainability? Oh, sorry, I did change the topic on that one. That's the livability one. Stay there. No, we're on to prosperity. So I split this in two just because of my capabilities, Gary, on a PowerPoint. So stage one of our growth strategy and township plan has been completed. So we've adopted the plan. Stage two is the spatial mapping tool.
Yes,
correct.
yeah.
And that is in progress. Do you want to give an update on
Yeah,
that?
so with the spatial mapping tool, we're in phase 2 of the design work for that. The element also including data collection around our infrastructure and assets is critical to that, and getting into spatial layers that can be utilised within the tool. We had sought an extension to that part 2 to January next year now, just given the complexities of designing the actual tool. So we have requested an extension, which we anticipate we will get. Just in terms of stage 1 as well, just reflecting on the fact that yes, well, council has adopted the strategy. We did submit it to the commission as a sort of a late submission on the Murray regional plan. We understand that the minister will be receiving a recommendation from the commission on the adoption of that regional plan in November at this stage. So we'll see a new regional plan, which may or may not incorporate elements of our growth strategy at this stage.
Thank you, Gary. I don't like to see red, but we haven't progressed our economic development strategy. Our focus has obviously been on sustainability. We still do economic development activity within the current resources. We have a budget for an additional staff member, but because of our focus on not spending money or trying to save money, we haven't progressed the employment of that role. That role then directly aligns with the progression of that development strategy. So we have got it as a potential consideration in this year, but that is something that we haven't prioritised. As you're aware, we've progressed the sustainability review for maritime tourism and heritage assets. We're well into tranche one, with public consultation closing at the end of this month. And so a further report will come back to council following that process. We have implemented a number of dark sky strategies from the action plan. I'll briefly mention them. I've got them here, but there's been work done on the governance, there's been work on the branding, visual identity, regulatory compliance, land use planning, and we still continue to advocate for a code amendment for that, Gary. And we've done work on the business plan and funding as well. So we've progressed a number of those actions out of that, but there's a number that will continue to progress in the next, or this financial year. Thanks, Carol. So last three, we've launched the new Mid-Murray Council Tourism brand website and app, and we've had some really good positive feedback on that. We hope Councillor Myers to soon complete the restoration project. We were hoping to have that done by the end of last financial year, but it's moved into this financial year. But we're getting closer. And then on the last,
want an update?
sorry, sure.
Teresa and I met with the surveyor last Sunday and went through the whole boat of what we need to finish the full survey. We're aiming at 60 people, number of passengers. So he's just got to do final calculation to put crew into that. He asked when we would like the survey from, and I said, well, we've got a permit to operate from the 1st of November to the 31st of January, so 1st of February is a good idea. And he didn't say no, so.
Okay. Exciting.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. And the last one, progression of the Mannum Dock Discovery Centre and Lansing Museum Interpretation and Collections Program is in progress. Through Councillor Myers has instigated a work group up in the with the Lansing Museum, and had a really productive meeting on that. And there's been a plan created for the Discovery Dock here in Mannum as well, and so they're getting progressed. So that is a broad overview of what we've progressed from a strategic planning perspective over the last 12 months. Any questions?
Just a comment, I think, it's lovely to see it in this format and to actually reflect, that's just 1 year of our 3 years to date. And with another year to follow this, I think that will be the first. So we'll have the first 2 years of the through to 2028 plan for the new council. And I think this will give them a really good picture of our direction, aims and purposes. Yeah.
And so on that, so the strategic plan has to be updated within 2 years of the new council.
Yeah.
So they could do that earlier, or they can see this plan out.
Yeah.
So as a prerogative of the council.
Yeah.
So, but we have a plan to 28.
Yeah. At least they'll see where we were headed.
That's good. Thank you. So I've just got a couple of slides, mindful of too much information, but an overview. These are or were in our annual business plan for 25-26. So go to the next slide. So priority areas, and we had a meeting with the senior management team to see how we're progressing. I haven't given you a status update because they are progressing, and I'll give an update in the new financial year, in the new year. But progressing the priorities for 25-26, some of them you'll see as repeated is my comment that they're in progress or ongoing. So strategic financial plans, as always, we update, implement, finalise stage 2 outcomes of the sustainability review. So we'll have the boats and the land done in this financial year. Review of the annual plan has been done. So tick, no, but that was because it wasn't finalised until August of this year. That's why it's in this year as well. Progress detailed design for Swan Reach Swims, boundary reform, financial assistance grants, that policy for climate adaptation and mitigation and our emergency response plan. So some of those you would have seen were in progress in the previous year. Next slide. That first one is a repeat. So again, my copying and pasting error there. So rural recycling, township green waste, so that assessment project, which as I mentioned is commenced. Cell 2 development project nearly done at the Cambrai landfill. Those asset management plans that we haven't done, so commence the stormwater and that road management plan that we want to complete. We're going to seal 2.5 kilometres of Murraylands Road, which will be exciting because then it will be complete and bitumen the whole way. The LED street lighting project, which is well underway to upgrade those roads to LED within the Dark Sky Reserve. Bow Hill we've completed, which is exciting, and then the South Bunyarl swim, which may change given the briefing that we've had from Dave on that. And we want to progress the Swan Reach boat ramp upgrades, and Dave and I presented to SAPFAT on that, as well as Blanchetown. We're going to complete the Angus Valley and Stony Banks Road junction upgrade, the open space craft flood remediation, which was started, and we finished the boat ramp in Swan Reach remediation wise, not upgrade, prior to the October long weekend, and we're working through that project. It's been funded by the state government. Finalise the service standard review, so phases 2 and 3. Next one, public health plan I've talked about, that will progress now the state plan's done. Implement items out of the community development strategy, Gary, and those community action plans, which we are excited by. The date I mentioned, the continued work across the community wellbeing programs and volunteer support. The RAP volunteer management plan, something that we obviously approved today, and we can progress the location for the female facility upgrade, the wastewater works at the Mannum Oval Sporting Complex. So we'll put the DA in now that you've endorsed the location. The ongoing state libraries review, which we've received some feedback this week, Gary, on that. We'll have undertake another ineffective Corella program, Councillor Schultz.
Good luck.
We'll do that somewhere and then I'll move somewhere else. The growth management and housing strategy. So we've done stage 1 and we'll finish the spatial mapping tool this year. That economic development strategy, which we haven't progressed, so we'll give consideration to that. Gary's exciting project on the tourism precinct planning report. A project will be progressed and finalised.
2027.
2027, so it will be progressed. We'll implement the outcomes of our sustainability review for the boats, the tourism and the heritage assets. Do some further work on the dark sky strategy and the action plan. We'll complete, Councillor Myers, the Pierce Penelli restoration project and the progression of those interpretation and collection program, interpretation for the collections and the 2 museums. So that's what 2025-26 looks like. Last slide. Question, apologise, a lot of information there. That's on top of business as usual.
Yeah, so very well done for under-resourced, underfunded regional, huge regional council.
Yeah.
I think punching above our weight.
And look, I think, and Gary and Clive may want to comment, you know, we get frustrated or challenged that we don't get to achieve everything we want strategically. Because life is busy and things happen and something will pop up and you have to deal with that. Or you get distracted by things that you didn't count on. And Cara and I talk about this literally every day. We have a plan for that day and then something happens and you just get distracted. So we would like to progress things in some instances more quickly than we do. But it's not for want of a commitment to do that. It's just having the resources or having distractions that play out. So that's what you, Clive and Gary, if you want
Just reinforce what you said.
to comment.
Yeah, no more floods. It's too much
Yeah.
paperwork.
Clive's still getting to finalise some funding for that.
I'm still getting federal audits
Yeah.
thrown at me to justify the costs and that. So
So-
I've still got, yeah, so Crowdfunding, we've claimed some money, but there's probably 3 more claims to be done on that, and there's some still outstanding monies from 2024-25 that will go and supply some additional information, and things like, oh, can you give us a photo before the flood and after? And and I feel like typing, well, the state government said it was just a high water event, not a flood. So we weren't taking photos.
At the start, is what, your point was, it wasn't necessarily going to be as big as
Yeah.
it turned into.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I think, we try to get out of the weeds, but we get pulled back into the weeds. And, the classic example is a full cost attribution project. Clive, there's been a Clive list to do for a number of years. Finally got to it, but it took a massive amount of work to get it completed. And a lot of out-of-hour work to do. So they're the frustrations that I think we feel, that we don't get to be as strategic as we'd like to on occasions. But that's resourcing. It's funding. If we had an extra, what, $7 million?
Yeah, great. Think what we could do. Imagine.
So any questions?
No, thanks.
No, and just acknowledge the work of Gary, Clive, Dave, but also the broader teams on driving those strategic priorities forward.
Well,
That's it, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, well done.
Thank you for your attendance. It's good to see some rain, maybe too late, rain.
no.
No, it's okay.
The microphone problems will have some.